saying it only takes a drop. You know what I mean? And that's just how the world sees
exactly.
you.
Yeah,
they let you know real quick where you stand. They do, always do.
Exactly. And there was a lot of things that, like, because when I was driving his car down here, and when his car was registered in his name, and when the cars were all registered in his name and stuff like that, he mainly, because we were in the military, so everything was mainly like in his name to go on the bases and stuff, and we never really switched it over. I never got pulled over in my life as much as I did when I was driving my husband's cars. Like, it was our cars, but it was registered to him. They would pull me over, whatever, I was speeding. Yeah, I did that a lot, whatever. But then they would be like,
that's why they pulled you over.
They would be like, oh, so who is blah, blah, blah to you? They would ask me about him. And I would be like, okay, well, why are you asking me about him? Because do you see him in the car?
For real.
Like, give me my ticket.
For real.
What? Oh, well, ma'am, I'm just trying to say, because I'm like, whatever, like, do you see him anywhere around here? Or, like, do you see me? So that happened. And the last time when I got pulled over, and I know this was just purely the guy was racist, never forget it. The girls and I, we were going to a gymnastic open night. And we were driving, and then the cop pulled me over, and he came up to my window, and the first words out of his mouth, he didn't ask me for my license, driver's license. He didn't ask me for my registration. He came up to my window and he said to me, "Whose car are you driving?" Mm-hmm. That's what the police officer said to me. And then I said to him, "You know whose car it is that I'm driving." And then
of course he does.
Like,
Kim would.
he was like, "No, I don't." And I said, "Yes, you do." And I said, "You didn't come up here and ask me for my driver's license. You didn't come up here and ask me for my registration, like what you're supposed to do." I said, "The first thing you asked me is whose car I'm driving." And I said, "And you know whose goddamn car it is that I'm driving?" And I said, "Because when you were driving behind me, you pulled up on your little computer and you saw a big white face." That's what I said to him. And
I like
said,
you, Kim. Kim, both of us are going to get killed one day because we're going to stand up to the cops.
That, damn.
I'm dead serious. Kim, I'm with you 100% how you approach these cops, because I'm telling you, Natalie, it's horrible being pulled over by the cops and being profiled. It's the worst thing ever.
It is.
It's demoralizing, it's horrible.
Yes, it is. And he said, and then I was like, because you know whose car I'm driving with, and then he was like, "Oh, well," and he goes, "Well, how would you?" I said, "Everybody knows you guys have computers in your car." I'm like, "I'm not stupid. I'm not. You have a computer." And then he was like, well, that's what you think. That's what you think because my computer was down. And I go, "If your computer was down, then you wouldn't have asked me whose car it is that I'm driving."
Damn.
Exactly.
Oh man,
ridiculous.
So back to Kennedy. Go ahead. Finish your thought, then we got to get back to Kennedy.
You just left Kennedy out.
Yeah, since I got my own car, it hasn't happened. But her dad never believed me when I told her they were pulling me over racially. He was like, "No, you're just making that stuff up in your head."
What?
That's what he would always, yes.
Oh my God.
That's what he was always telling me. He's like, "Oh, you're just coming up with that stuff. And I don't understand why you get mad about, First, he would always tell me, first of all, he'd say that I'm not really black because my mom is Jamaican.
Damn.
That was the other thing.
So Jamaicans aren't black now?
Right? We all black. It don't matter.
Oh my
God. As long as you get that little bit of tint, you black.
Natalie, I don't know, you know how it goes. They're like, "Oh, well, you're Jamaican, so you're not really black." I don't know if you've heard that before.
I've never got that.
I've heard that before, yes. I've heard it before.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't consider you black because you're Jamaican.
Oh,
what?
wow.
What the hell?
Exactly. It's like, I am black, and I was born in America, so yeah, I'm black, And so he's like, "Oh, well, you're not really black, and and you like to pretend like, you were, like racist." And I'm like, "John, you just don't know because I don't tell you half the time because you just think that I'm an angry black person and I'm just making stuff up."
So wait, so Kim, real quick, and then we'll get back to Kennedy. But because we got to wrap up soon. How does that make you feel? And how does that affect the way is that part of why you raised your daughters the way that you did, as far as educating them so much?
Yes, I did. I always wanted them to be educated. I just didn't want them to be like a lot of these, because I grew up around a lot of mixed kids and they didn't know, like their moms were Caucasian and they didn't know, anything about their Black history or anything about themselves, and to be happy with the Black side of themselves, or, they didn't know that. And I didn't want my girls to be like that. I want my girls to be empowered, by their skin, to know who they are, as also women of color, and also, as women, because even though they're biracial, sometimes when people perceive you, it's what people perceive you as. You know what I mean?
Right.
So not everyone's going to look at you and be like, oh yeah, that's a biracial girl. Because we have a spectrum of colors.
That's
and,
true.
Being a Black person, not all the time, if you're light, you're biracial. Sometimes you're just light because you just come out light. And that's it.
Yeah, because I got a great niece, a great niece, and we always say she got a lot of milk in her coffee. And I had a neighbor actually say there was a white lady in my driveway, but she's 16, but she does look a little older. She's tall. And so, but she's very fair, but both of her parents, her mom is a little more fair. Both of her parents are Black. And, and actually they're both Jamaican, but her grandma's got a lot of milk in her coffee. My brother, her grandpa is darker. He's got darker skin like me, but just, kind of into playing that with her, thinking someone thought she was white from the driveway. They thought she was a white lady. And, she identifies as Black.
Why is there a white lady laying down in your driveway? White lady.
She thought she was old too. She's like, yeah, it's like a 30, 40-year-old lady.
Yeah,
I'm like, who is that?
What the hell? What's going on?
And I called my house and I was like, are you so I called my niece. I'm like, are you there? She's like, yeah. And I was like, was that so-and-so in the driver? She goes, yeah. I'm like, oh. So I text my neighbor. I'm like, yeah, that was my 16-year-old great niece. And she felt so bad.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
She felt so bad. But okay, so before we wrap up, I got to make sure I get Kennedy in here. Kennedy. Sorry, Kennedy. You got cut off.
Your mom took it all today, Kennedy.
Your mom got a lot on her mind, Kennedy. We had to let her get some of that steam off, right? So back to you with how with some of the differences with your dad and yourself, and how that works, how that plays out in your relationship and everything like that. Is she there? Kim, did you make her get mad and she hung up?
Kennedy, are you there?
I was on mute. My bad.
Oh, damn, she was on mute.
Yeah,
all right, Kim, you didn't run her off too bad. That's good.
No, I was just saying, it's weird because, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't really, there wasn't any, problem. I didn't really, I guess, race wasn't an issue or anything. But now more so, my dad, I don't know, he just stresses me out.
Oh, man.
So is it frustrating for you? Is that what you're saying? Frustration?
What?
You're frustrated?
Yeah, he frustrates me. His viewpoints on things frustrates me.
Yeah,
and
I can.
There are often times where me and my sisters have to sit him down and we try our hardest to educate him. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's just more so on topic, and it's even dumb things like the virus that's going on around right now, or what was the other thing? Oh, it's just what you should do if your friends have said racist things and all, because we've some people
of his family members.
Yeah, some of his family members on my dad's side have said some things where I'm like, Father, you need to say something. We had to tell. And eventually he did, but we would have to tell our father sometimes to you need to say something because that's not right.
Right.
That's not fair.
Wow.
And then, yeah, so it's just things like that. But I would say for the perception of what he looks like super hillbilly, redneck type country, he is a little more cultured than So I would say that, which is
right. I mean, you have to be to marry a black woman, especially a strong black woman like your mom.
For real.
Your mom's got a lot of your mom's got a lot of personality.
The strongest. I love you, Kim. I do.
She got a strong person. I should say strong personality.
Oh, she does. Say. Oh man.
But that's okay. I'm like you, Kim. I'm similar, so I get it. So, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, for him to do that, he's got to have some enlightenment or some understanding.
But it seems like it kind of like the more he's been like with more of his people, it seems like it's slowly fades. Like since Trump's been in office,
it empowers him.
It's like more. Yes, it's more things. Like we'll sit down and like we were watching Roots, and I think I did put this on my Facebook.
Oh Lord,
we were watching Roots, and
I can't watch this stuff.
It was the new one. And then they were showing when the other Africans were capturing the other Africans and like having them. So we were all watching it. So that part came on. And then he kind of turned around to look at me. And I said, shut your mouth. Get out of the room. Get out of the
room. Oh, my God. He didn't get a chance to say nothing.
I was like, don't you say not one word. Because, that's what they're like, oh, well, black people, they stole, Africans stole, so there's two. And I'm like, but it was different when they were you guys don't seem to understand
it's not the same thing, yeah.
When you were a slave in Africa, then when you were a slave here in America by, white people, it's two totally different things.
I mean, a slave is a slave, so, I mean, they both were treated probably pretty bad, but...
No, it's a difference, Kennedy, because when the Africans, what would happen is when I conquer your tribe, yes, you become my slave, so you guys are kind of beneath us, but you can also have a standing. You can end up marrying somebody in my tribe, getting your own house, having your own property.
That is correct, Kim. That is correct.
You can start doing that. That never happened to black slaves. Like they weren't allowed to own no property.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, in general, I know that, but a slave is a slave, but it's different. So it's like you've got to take different things. And I even remember too when I was talking about, I can't remember what it was. It was something about black people getting killed and stuff like that. And then I'll never forget, John had put on my post. He then put something up. Yeah, no, he had put something up about Irish people being slaves and being slaves and being mistreated.
I think Brian yelled at him real good a while ago.
He started saying stuff about, oh, well, Irish people when they came over. And man, did I blast him on my I was like, John, if you don't get them off
there is truth to that, but it is a different type of, it's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's different,
but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same
thing. But it's not the same. And then I was like, let's not forget all those Irish people that you're talking about, how they were mad when the Civil War came around. They were upset, and because they had to go on the draft, that they started killing black people that had nothing to do with them being drafted. They went around and they murdered a bunch of black people in New York. They were hanging them, and I said, so don't talk to me about no damn Irish people, John.
Wow.
I was like, no, I said, black people were not running around hanging Irish people.
Right.
I said, we didn't do that. So it's like, don't talk to me about that.
So the crazy part about all this,
micro aggressions like that upset me with him. Because I mean, just like watching documentaries, like sometimes we watched the Trayvon Martin one, we watched the 16 shot one. Sometimes I'm like, you can't watch this with me, or something like that. I'll tell him like, you can't watch this. Or
I love your passion, Kim. I love it.
Yeah,
I love your passion
because it aggravates me, and it's like. To me, I feel like they know what they're doing, but they just choose to choose to be stupid about it. Like people know for a fact that there is racism. I mean, you can't not see it, but you choose not to see it by choice. You choose to deny it, and that's what I feel that a lot of people with this, oh, all lives matter, and
right,
why is it just black or blue lives matter?
It's
and,
very, I find it very hurtful.
Yeah, don't tell me no blue lives matter when you could go home and take off your uniform and ain't nobody going to know you're a cop. We can't take off the color of our skin.
Right.
Yep. You know? Yeah. And the same thing if you're